So I'll be demonstrating how to do WBC count for you. And what is WBC? WBC is white blood cells. So how do you count WBC in a blood sample that you have? So we're going to need some materials. Number one material we need is the tox fluid. So this is the tox solution. We're also going to need the Haemocytometer, which is the counting chamber. So this is the counting chamber. Yeah, we are going to need this. We will need the cover slip. We will need the capillary tube to fill the counting chamber. We're going to need micropipettes. We need the micropipette that can pick 380 microliter, and we also need the one that can pick 20 microliter of the blood sample. So to start, the first thing is to fix the the pipette tip onto the micropipette and pick 380 microliter. So I have 380 microliter set here already on the micropipette. So I'll pick 380 microliter and dispense it into the test tube. After which I'll pick the micropipette. So I have 20 microliter here, so you can actually set it. So this is how to set the micropipette. So I have 20 microliter here. So I'll make use of this yellow pipette tip and then ensure I mix the sample appropriately before picking the sample. So I'm picking 20 microliter of the blood sample. So this is 20 microliter. Then ensure you clean the outer part of the pipette tip before you dip it into the diluent. So now mix it well. So the blood and the tox fluid has already been mixed together. I'll have to leave this on the bench for about 5 minutes for the red blood cells to be completely lysed, because we don't want interference with the WBC count when we want to do it. So I'll leave it on the bench for about 5 minutes before I charge the chamber and then start the counting process. It is over, and then the next thing I want to do is to charge the chamber. But before charging the chamber, I have to ensure that the counting chamber is cleaned very well. So I'll make use of a light tissue to clean it appropriately. After which I will mount the cover slip on it. So but when you want to mount the cover slip, there are actually two methods of mounting the cover slip. So you make use of the one that is convenient for you, but just make sure that when you are taking the cover slip, you hold it by the edge. Ensure that your hand does not touch the middle of the cover slip, because it is the middle of the cover slip that will be on the part of the counting chamber that you will use for counting. So the first method is to moisten the counting chamber with your breath like this. So you do that about 4 or 5 times. Then you place the cover slip from the edge like this and then push it upward. Just push it upward onto the counting chamber. Then you straighten it and then be sure that it has sticked well. Then for you to be sure that you've actually sticked it well and then it is ready to be used, look out on this two sides. Look out for what we call the Newton's ring. So that's the Newton's ring there. So that's the first method of mounting the cover slip on the counting chamber. So now let me show you the second method. So always ensure you clean the counting chamber. Now, for the second method, you don't use your breath, you are going to use water. So we'll moisten it with water. So just pick a small quantity of water onto your finger, and then you rub your hand on this part of the counting chamber, not in this middle part where we're going to read, but on the side of the counting chamber, these two sides, like this. After which you take your cover slip, ensure you hold it by the edge, then you also put it in place by pushing it upward till it sticks to the, so now it has sticked well. Those are the two ways in which you can mount the cover slip on the counting chamber. So the next thing we want to do now is, how do you charge the counting chamber? How do you charge the counting chamber? To charge the counting chamber means to put or to apply this diluted blood sample onto the counting chamber. That's what charging of the counting chamber means. So we're going to need capillary tube. So what you need to do is just pick the diluted sample with the capillary tube to flow into it like this. Then you now place the capillary tube at the edge of the cover slip. When you place it there, you'll see it flows in straight like that. Let's assume we have two samples. We can always, you just put Mr. A's sample here and then put Mr. B's sample at the other end. So like that, just place it and then the sample will flow in. So that's how to charge the counting chamber. After charging the counting chamber, the next thing is then to view it under the microscope. So when you want to view under the microscope, you'll need to place it on the microscope stage, clip it with the stage clip, after which you'll put on your microscope. You can see that the light has come on. Then you have to lower the condenser because you don't want much light. Too much light, with too much light you will not see the WBCs clearly. Then we are making use of the ×10 objective lens. So I have the ×10 objective lens in place already. Then the next thing you have to do is to ensure that you move it with the stage control, such that the part where you charged, where the patient sample is, it has to be directly under the ×10 objective lens before you now look into the microscope and focus it. So by the time you finish focusing, then you count on the squares. So in this video, I'm going to show you how the squares are. We have 16 squares on the upper right side, 16 squares on the upper left side, 16 squares on the lower left side, 16 squares on the lower right side. So all those parts, you're going to count the number of WBCs that are there, and then you will use it in the calculation. These are the squares inside the haemocytometer. You can see the 4 large corner squares labeled WBC. Those are the squares where you are going to count the WBC. You have to count the number of all of them in all of them, and then you add it together and use it for your calculation. And then you can notice that each of them have another 16 smaller squares inside. You have to ensure that for you to be able to count and avoid counting one cell more than once, you use a strategy that we call the L rule or the 7 rule. The L rule is also referred to as the boundary rule. And what do you do in that case? You ensure for the L, you use the L shape. That means you count the cell on the left and then the ones on the lower boundary line, and avoid counting the cells that are on top of the right and then the upper boundary line. But for the case of the seven, that the seven rule, you count the cells that's the white blood cells that are on the upper boundary line and the ones that are on the right line, while you ignore the ones that are on the left and the lower boundary line. So that is how you count. You do the same for all the large corner squares. At the end of the day, you add everything together and use it in your calculation. This is the formula for calculating the total white cell count. The number of white cells counted in those four corner squares multiplied by the dilution factor, everything divided by the area of the squares counted, then times the depth of the counting chamber. And you have the values. The number of WBC counted is the only one that will change. The dilution factor is always 20. The area of the squares counted is always 4, while the depth of the counting chamber is always 0.1. So in this case now, we counted 120 WBCs. So that means multiplied by 20, which is the dilution factor, over 4 times 0.1. At the end of the day, you have 6 times 10 raised to power 3 per millimeter cube. So after which you convert it to SI unit, which is whatever result you get per liter. So in this case, it will be 6 times 10 raised to power 3, then times 10 raised to power 6 per liter. So the final result in this case is 6 times 10 raised to power 9 per liter. In some cases, some patients have high WBC counts, but some of those WBCs that you count with the counting chamber are actually not white blood cells. Some of them are nucleated red cells. In cases of patients with sickle cell anemia, for example, in this case, the bone marrow is releasing immature red blood cells into the circulation, and so you find nucleated red blood cells when you are doing the differential count manually or when you are doing the blood film examination. Once you see nucleated red blood cells that are more than 10, maybe equal to or more than 10 per 100 WBCs, you have to do what is called the corrected white cell count. And the formula for doing that is this: corrected white cell count is uncorrected white cell count, which is what you counted with the Newbar counting chamber, multiplied by 100, everything divided by the number of nucleated red cells that you saw when you counted 100 WBCs plus 100. And at the end of the day, whatsoever you get is the actual WBC of that individual. So there are some sources of error that you encounter when you are doing WBC count, and these sources of error must be avoided at all costs. So what are they? Incorrect measurement of blood due to poor technique. Ensure that you measure the blood, you know how to use the micropipette. Then at the same time, also not mixing the blood properly, or if you don't check for clot, if there is clot in the sample or you don't mix the sample properly, there will be error in the WBC counts that you get. Inadequate mixing of blood with diluting fluid. Ensure if whenever you collect sample, you mix it with the diluent. Then dirty cover slip or counting chamber. You know, I told you have to always clean your counting chamber and don't hold the cover slip in the middle. You hold it by the edge. Then overfilling of counting chamber is another source of error. Avoid that. Not allowing cells to settle for up to 2 minutes after charging the chamber. So after charging the chamber, it is important that you hold on for nothing less than 2 minutes before you do the counting so that the cells will settle. Then drying of the mixture in the chamber before completion of counting. Ensure that you don't allow the diluted sample to dry on the chamber before you count. So you have to be fast when you are doing the WBC count. Then not correcting a count when nucleated red cells are up to 10. We've talked about calculation of corrected white cell count. If you notice nucleated red blood cells, ensure that if they are up to 10 in 100 WBCs, ensure that you do corrected white cell count. Then viewing with intense light source. You have to avoid
too much light. That's why you need to close the diaphragm and lower the condenser when you are counting WBC. Then counting to few cells, the higher the better. Some people will count alternate squares. That means instead of counting the 4 squares, they'll count 2 squares and multiply by 100. It is better you count the 4 squares and then you multiply with 50. How do you arrive at the 50 that you multiply the number of WBC counted with? It's from the calculation. The dilution factor, which is 20, divided by the area times depth will give you 50. So all you need to do is just to multiply the total number of white blood cells you count by 50 and you will get the total WBC count.